Right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Talking Niagara this morning. It is Friday, August 29th, so the end of August, because come Monday, it will be the 1st of September, and it's Labor Day Monday.
Yeah, summer's over.
Yeah. Well, summer's over. I think summer's over for Niagara Falls when the CNE starts.
Yeah, it could be.
Or at least put it this way, tourist season is mainly over then.
I think we still got lots of tourists though.
We normally
On
do.
Labor Day.
We
Yeah.
normally do Labor Day, yeah. All right. So that's an interesting one you put in. So I'll put that one first. Keeping invasive species alive can be an arduous task and sometimes requires labor-intensive solutions. Yeah, there's load of goldfish that are invading. Is it the Great Lakes?
Yeah, but before we go on there, I would like just to point out something that was in a communication was in the city council meeting,
Oh, okay.
and it was called and I put this out to our listeners. There's a motion respecting elect respect campaign. This is communication that's gone around, and it says where it's an issue that regards the respect and hostility that elected officials are facing lately. And I'll read it off. And
Go on.
it says, whereas healthy democracy is healthy when everyone is able to participate fully and safely and contribute to the well-being of the community. Whereas we are witnessing a dissolution of democratic discourse and respectful debate across all levels of government and in neighboring jurisdictions. And whereas Ontario municipality elected officials are dealing with increasing hostile, unsafe work environments facing threats and harassment, whereas social media platforms have exacerbated disrespectful dialogue, negative commentary, and toxic engagement, which disincentivize individuals, especially women, and candidates from diverse backgrounds from running for office, whereas better decisions are made when democracy is respectful and constructive and voices of diverse genders, identities, ethnicities, races, sexual orientation, ages, and abilities are heard and represented around the municipal council tables. And whereas the Association of Municipalities of Ontario Healthy Democracy Project has identified concerning trends with fewer people voting in local elections and running for municipal office. And whereas in 2024, female elected representatives from Halton formed a group called HER, Halton Elected Representatives, which pledged to speak out against harassments and negativity in politics and call on elected officials to uphold the highest standards of conduct. And whereas HER has launched a campaign called Elect Respect to promote the importance of healthy democracy, safe inclusion, respectful work environments for all elected officials. And whereas on June 5th, 2025, the Canadian Association of Feminist Parliamentarians launched a nonpartisan parliamentary civility pledge to encourage all parliamentarians to commit to end workplace harassment and increase civility on Parliament Hill, modeled after the pledge developed by the Halton HER. And therefore, be it resolved that the Niagara Regional Council supports Elect Respect Pledge and commits to treat others with respect in all spaces, public, private, and online, reject and call out harassment, abuse, and personal attacks, focus debate on ideas, policies, not personal attacks, help build support of culture where people of all backgrounds feel safe to run for and hold office, call on relevant authorities to ensure the protection of elected officials who face abuse or threats, and model integrity, respect, holding one another to the highest standards of conduct. That the Niagara Regional Council calls on elected officials, organizations, communities to support Elect Respect campaign. Oops, I just lost it. Well, there we go. The copy of this resolution be sent to municipalities, and to shorten it up, this resolution be sent to all Niagara local municipalities. Why was that even necessary? I ask. Is things
we
so
are
bad that it's necessary to actually get something like elect respect created? Shouldn't this be something that has happened, should and happen every day in municipal affairs?
Yeah.
It is a sad state of affairs that
But it's not just municipal affairs. I think you're getting a breakdown of civility in all levels of government, right? It used to be years ago, you and I could be on, you could be a staunch conservative. I could be a rabid radical on opposite sides of the house, but yet we could still have coffee together. We could still have a friendly banter, but respect each other's right to have, to have our political views. Nowadays, we seem to be in a situation of what will happen is you've got two diverse people. One will call the other one, names and vice versa. So they won't even meet for a coffee to see if there's any common ground they might be able to reach. It's like we're into name calling and acts that are not very civil.
Yeah, the whole idea of a government, whether it's municipal, provincial, regional, whatever it is,
the
very idea that you're going to have people on opposite sides, and they could get emotional and stuff like that about their procedures, but there are much more personal attacks now, and these and based on hoofra and nothing.
Yeah.
And is this advanced by social media? And I'll ask the other question: is this a spillover for what's happening in the United States? We see a profound divide in the U.S. Media reports. Depending on what side you are, it's black and white.
Well, in general, I would say yes to both those questions. The U.S., particularly the increasing kind of anti-democratic movements that we see right now are troublesome. We've had a U.S. House, Senate and House of Representatives that have both been so partisan over the last few years. There's almost no opportunity for a bipartisan anything anymore. It's like, if you're a Democrat, go off to the West Coast and set up your parliament there. If you're a Republican, go to the South and set up your parliament there, and then we'll never speak to each other again, kind of thing. But also social media has allowed people to put out extreme views of one form or another. That's for sure. Generally speaking, though, what I like about social media is the fact that it has given that ability for people to have their view, even minority views, and bring it to the fore, even when those views would never have gotten into the local newspaper. Right. So that's a positive about social media, but social media also has gone to the extremes.
Yes. So, basically,
for example, if you were support for a minority, I don't know, let's just, I'm plucking something out the air. You were supporting a minority dance group, let's say. The only way you'd never have gotten news in the newspaper, before social media. Now, with your minority dance group, you can go out and you can feature, you know, Joey the Whale, and and whatever it is in your group, which will appeal to a certain subsection of the community. And I think that's a good thing out of social media, that we get people in the news that were never in the news before.
Well, we find in the States that the things are becoming normalized. Like, we find that the president calling people names all the time.
Yeah.
He calls the names, and he calls them rude names. We find that swearing has encroached more and more on the political dialogue.
Yep.
Is he normalizing this kind of thing? Is he help normalizing name calling, exaggerated images of different people, like calling New Scum or Rick DeSanctimonious or Sleepy Joe or other things like that? He's
those are terms.
He's actually, when it comes to the Fed Chair Powell, he's made some real derogatory comments about him. He's made derogatory comments about all different parts of his opposition, or even people who have worked for him before. Is this derision becoming normalized?
Well, derision in terms of an election campaign, I get it. It's always been the American thing. You deride your opponent.
Yeah, but making names for your competitors, making stupid clowny names for them.
No, that is something brand new, and that is unacceptable. You and I, and people on the street may have clown names for their representatives. Fine, and not a problem. That is acceptable because because there's nothing formal in that. For the president of the United States to be using clown names, not even remotely acceptable.
No. And we find this spilling over into, let's bring it back here into Canada, and we find a lot of hostilities and a lot of volatility towards people in politics, which, if you are an earnest person who thinks that they could contribute politically, let's say you yourself or someone running for office, and then somebody starts making fun of you, when the next time you run for office, and let's say you're getting close to getting a seat, and somebody starts to complain about you and talk, come up with some stupid, silly name.
You mean like, hey, that Peter Giblett, he's gay, or even worse than that?
Yeah, or any number of things. He's just a limey upstart, and he's going to bring his socialist, communist views from Britain here. He's going to destroy everything. Those for most people don't take that serious, but there's enough people that will.
It's an unfortunate thing. Yeah, it is unfortunate. There's enough people that will take that kind of stuff seriously.
Yeah. So the very plain act of being civil, and I can understand people getting emotional about an issue and complaining vehemently across the aisle in Parliament or within regional council, to get very angry about a certain person's position if they think it's very bad. But to actually deride that person, make fun of the way they look, if they're short, if they're tall, if they're overweight, if they have funny hair, who whatever, in any kind of derisive comment against a person, we find that occurring more and more. And we find that, according to this, it's the women, the Haldeman County, they are the ones that first brought it to fore in a big way, saying that really, what are you doing? You're making it really difficult for women.
You see,
because
I think it would.
It's easier to make fun of women, isn't it? Because if you make fun of a man and another man's in the room, you're making fun of him, he'll cross the aisle and punch you in the nose. But that's not available to women.
Well, they're unlikely to do it because women tend not to punch you in the nose. Yeah, they're more civil than that.
Yeah, if they get a chance to put poison in your coffee, but what else can they do?
But they won't be touching your coffee. That's the thing, though, right? Yeah. They wouldn't
get
near your coffee. Yeah, but in fact, actually, no. Women, I generally don't think women would go that far as to put poison in your coffee anyway, right? It's not the sort of thing, it's not the sort of thing women would really do.
I was being facetious, by the way, in case you missed that. I was being pretty facetious.
No, I was just saying that a woman, I don't see a woman actually doing it, even in a political argument.
Well,
you know what
I was being completely facetious. Anyway. I was being completely facetious because apparently, poison is the women is the weapon of choice for women when they do murder somebody. Yeah. When women do murder somebody, poison is their go-to means to do it. Evidently, I read that and I've come across that a few times. So that is why that was such a facetious comment. But basically, when you boil it down, right, there has to be a means by which people get back to civility. I'm appalled by the way in which politicians talk to one another a lot of times, but especially how they are criticized, because people get so emotional, jump on social media, write something. Sometimes I think they regret it afterwards, but in the meantime, it's out there, and they attack individuals. They attack individuals. They should be attacking their ideas, not the individuals.
Yeah, and exactly. So the whole point is that you should. It's fine. You want to build you want to build a stadium in the middle of Niagara Falls. We don't even have enough money to actually have a local team. Let alone people in Niagara Falls having the money to go buy tickets. That's valid criticism. But saying, well, I know what you're up to. This is going to be the Dave Wheeler Magic Stadium, and you want to become the most famous person in Niagara. That becomes a personal attack.
I want to build a ballroom attached to City Hall.
And personal attacks are not acceptable in any. They certainly should never be acceptable in in politics. They're not acceptable in political campaigns, and they should certainly not be acceptable in the chambers of government, whichever level of government one is talking about.
Well, it's a sad state of affairs that we're in the situation now where we have to actually have to state that it was presumed all of this time that you have civil discourse and that our politicians and the people who come and speak to politicians at City Hall or whatever are respected. Their ideas might not be but that is being dwindled, and it's a shocking development that we have to state the obvious. Respect and cordiality and is required, in our political discourse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. All right. Anything else?
No, I just thought I brought that up as an interest that might be interesting to people. It was actually a communications in the city council meeting. Yeah. And I keyed in on that because, of course, I think everyone has witnessed the sort of barbarity that is, or the crudeness is, that is, uh, and the emotional, unthoughtful emotional responses all the time out there.
Yeah.
And I think it's time to kind of reevaluate and remember and remind us all that we are civilized people, and we cannot conduct ourselves in that kind of way.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you. Good reminder. All right. Invasive species sometimes take laborious intensive solutions.
Yeah, the New York has come up with a unique attempt to eradicate a pond that's very close to a Lake George, that is overwhelmingly full of carp, basically. And what has happened, they think, is people who have goldfish and don't want them anymore go to the pond, think they're doing the fish a favor by dumping them into this pond. Now, unfortunately, in this pond has become completely overwhelmed by the goldfish that grow up to be carp and so on. So they've tried a number of ways of getting rid of them, because they don't want those goldfish to move. I think it's like 1,200 feet or something over, or 1,200 yards, whatever it is, into Lake George.
Yeah.
Because then they become an extreme invasive species. Right now they're in this pond, and it's a rather large pond. Now, they've tried a number of different ways of getting rid of them, one of which is pumping out about half of the water to get rid of them. That didn't work, because they just are extremely adaptable. They get into the bottom and into the weeds and stay there, and they're hidden. So they've tried and other methods to try to get rid of these goldfish that don't belong there.
Yeah.
So their latest solution is to bring in largemouth bass and put largemouth bass into the pond, because largemouth bass are extremely good hunters. Basically, they're voracious eaters. So they think that the largemouth bass is going to go around there and eat up enough of the young of the goldfish to at least get to the point where they become extinct. So we'll see what happens here. We'll see how the goldfish respond to the largemouth bass. The irony here is largemouth bass are not native to that area either, though, but they are native to in and around the areas in and around. We find them in Lake Ontario. We find them all over Ontario. And I'm pretty sure you could find them in the Finger Lakes and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But they're putting in the largemouth bass to have nature fight nature. Will it backfire? Will it work? It is a contained area. It's a pond, but they're worried very much that, there's going to be a spillover effect sometime into the natural forest.
The worrying factor about any of that lot is that people wishing to get rid of goldfish, just dumping them in any lake.
Yeah,
the vast majority of tropical fish that you would put in our ponds and lakes and rivers will just die, because they are not capable of taking the environment. But some are particularly voracious and will take to the environment, and that's a disturbing thing.
Well, we have all kinds of invasive species because people in their attempt to be kind, so they're tired of their boa constrictor. So what they do is they say, okay, well, I won't kill it or get rid of it or euthanize it. What I'll do is I'll put it out in the Everglades. Or other people putting goldfish or other kinds of animals into the wild and think, okay, well, we'll just leave them out there. They forget what damage it can do to the ecosystem.
Yeah.
We have gobies, and we have zebra mussels, and all that came in accidentally from ships discharging their bilges in the Great Lakes. when they come from the countries they do come from. Their bilges are full of things that don't belong here, but sometimes they explode. Purple loosestrife is something in the plant realm, but normally when they bring in another species to combat an invasive species, it goes awry.
Yeah.
When they brought in mongooses to take care of snakes, well, the mongoose themselves are going to go after the easiest prey. So what they did was they decimated the birds and they decimated other animals first before they started working on snakes. So when you bring another species in to fight off a species, it quite often backfires. Yeah. However, in this particular case, largemouth bass, although in that particular area are not native, they are less likely to proliferate outside that pond. And even if they do, I don't think they would be they would be invasive. Like largemouth bass cuts out a territory for itself. It's an extremely good predator, and it's a territorial fish. If you know largemouth bass, we've caught a few. Caught a couple of huge ones up at my lake. Well, I didn't, but other people did.
I can't say I know them, but yeah, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
Well, the whole answer here is if you have things like goldfish or tropical fish, don't dump them in the local water body. Get some advice.
Yeah, you have this tendency to want to be kind to them and let them out, and people, even with their cats, who don't want their cats anymore, or dogs. People used to take dogs out into the country when they were tired of dogs or couldn't take it, put out in the country. And then I remember people telling me this as a kid, oh, took it out of the country, some farmer will take it in. Yeah, they in their mind, they think, oh, some farmer's going to take their stray dog.
Not necessarily.
No, probably the farmer will shoot it because it's breeding their hen house or something.
Yeah.
And more likely they'll die. I saw, and when people were abandoning a lot of pets back in the 70s, they were packing up and killing sheep in the area. And I saw one of those packs. Yeah. I was alarmed. There was a pack of dogs. Like there was like probably about 15 of them. They were led by a big white shepherd dog. The thing was completely white. It was the biggest of them all, and they were all following this particular dog. And all the other dogs were of every different kind you could think of. There was even a little wiener dog in there. There was poodles and all kinds of other animals of all kinds of different pets, and they were all following this big white dog. And there were out in the country area. I think I saw them off Montrose Road. So that coordinated with the articles that had been in the newspaper about they were thinking that coyotes were killing these sheep, but it wasn't coyotes, because coyotes would drag them off and eat the sheep. These things were being killed and mauled, and whatever predator it was didn't seem to know quite how to dispose of the carcass and eat it properly, but they were killing them.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be packs of dogs that were created by people dumping their pets out into the countryside when they didn't want them anymore.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Yeah, not a good result either way, and they're invasive.
Yeah, so this is in this particular case, we'll see how this works.
Yeah,
they've tried a number of different ways, and what they found is these goldfish, when they get to be really big and everything, become they have a detrimental effect on the environments that they aren't native to.
Yeah,
their excrement is a problem. They eat eggs and other fish and really disrupt the whole ecosystem. And So it's very important that these invasive species don't get into the main waterways, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. So Greek food, circus acts, and midway rides in Niagara in the Niagara region this weekend. So there's a whole heap of things. So American Community Days Festival is on. Niagara Greek Festival, Great Benjamin Circus, and Marshville Heritage Festival, and a number of others are all on today.
Yeah, so I put this here sort of as a public service thing, and it talks about the different what's happening. If anyone's interested in looking for something to do on Labor Day weekend, take the family. And Meriton Lions Community Days Festival. I've been to a couple of Meriton community things. It's usually quite good. So they have a festival which includes Saturday live music, midway rides, inflatable bouncy castles, and food, and fireworks and festivals. We have the Niagara Greek Festival, the annual event showcasing Greek music and stuff like that. That's on Niagara Street and Linwell in St. Catharines.
Yeah.
Souvlaki, Greek French fries, lamb shank, and all kinds of other looks of baklava. Ooh, that might take me there. And it has
circus. You got a circus in Seaway Mall in Welland.
Yeah. That's something you take the kids to. Yeah. That sounds pretty interesting too.
Yeah.
Great Benjamin Circus.
Yeah.
And it stops in Welland. The world with traditional circus roots stops in Welland. And it has acrobats, clowns, the whole works.
Yeah.
And of course there's the Marshville Heritage Festival.
Yeah. Which is in Wainfleet.
Yeah. Watch a class in a one-room schoolhouse and hear the sounds of Paul Scholes blacksmith and a full 19th century experience offered in Wainfleet during the Marshville Heritage Festival. So that's kind of really interesting. And so these are, and of course, the Niagara on the Lake Arts Collective Fair is going on. So that's in...
that's the St. Vincent de Paul Community Center on 222 Davie Street in Niagara on the Lake.
And some kind of R&B festival. It's a Montebello Park, welcoming a slew of R&B artists for a celebration of culture.
Well, when you said some kind of R&B festival, I thought to myself, what's he talking about? Does he not know the name? Then I glanced down and it says, some kind of R&B.
That's the name of it.
Yeah.
That's actually the name of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And Saturday performance will include Mooney Long, Aguila, The Honest Guy, and Ariana Reed, and so on, and Maria the Scientist. So the festival runs between Saturday and Sunday from 1 to 11 p.m.
Yeah.
So there you have it. There's also the Welland Salsa and Cumbia Festival.
And Dane City Family Day as well. Don't forget that one.
Yeah, and Dane City Family Day. So in the newspaper in the Niagara this week, basically you'll find that article.
Yeah,
we'll find it in the review basically if you look. But
the other thing to note, of course, is that we come back here to Niagara Falls. We've got, of course, Clifton Hill going on as normal. Oaks Garden Theatre happening this weekend. We've got Wild Play, Niagara Falls Whirlpool Adventure Course. I think there's golf. Yeah. Oh no, zip lines, rope swings, aerial obstacles. So that's actually up on Whirlpool Road, just past Whirlpool Road, as the road zigzags through that whirlpool area. Niagara Sky Wheel, Butterfly Conservatory. I'd also like to say there's that new balloon up there, isn't there?
Yeah, I don't know where that balloon comes from or who put it there.
No, I think it's on a tie line. It comes from, as far as I could tell, it's somewhere down in the park near the sky wheel.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Butterfly Conservatives, Battlegrounds as well. And Falls View Indoor Park is open, of course.
Yeah.
Just to mention,
so there's a number of things you can do this weekend with your family. You don't even have to leave the city to have to enjoy the long weekend. And these things, most of these things won't be crowded with tourists either. These are local events, so it'll be residences.
Yeah. But one other thing to note is the city has made the decision, by the way, to close Willoughby Museum.
Yeah, we spoke about this on Paul's show on Monday. Also, I have to point this out. I was listening to Paul's show yesterday, and he pointed out a bunch of ongoing problems with vandalism, and apparently we've had problems in our cemetery again. People knocking over our stuff and painting it, and so on and so forth. So this seems to be a kind of a trend sign.
Yeah, back to the beginning of the show when you were talking about respect. Here's another one of respect. They might not be the same religion as you. They may not be, they may not have the same symbols as you pray to. Leave it alone. Stop schooling. There's no.
I don't understand the need to do that. I don't understand the need to burn down an abandoned building. I don't understand the need to deface public cemeteries. These are seriously. What is the point? Where are you getting your jollies out of that? Yeah, it's easy. And let's put it this way. It is easy to deface a cemetery. You can go in there at night and spray paint stones. You can knock them over. It takes no skill at all. Nothing. If you want to do an adventure of some kind, I don't know, jump out of an airplane, but that's no adventure to deface things. And where are you getting your jollies? You're doing the easiest thing possible. There's nobody going to resist you in a cemetery late at night when you deface tombstones. What is it? Where do you get your thrill? I mean,
yeah. Honestly, it's not. That's so disrespectful to our citizens, right?
Quite a bit beyond disrespectful.
It's
malicious vandalism for no particular need. I mean, if Adolf Hitler's burial place, I could see every once in a while somebody come along. If there was one.
Yeah. Again, no. I'd oppose that. Don't be an asshole. Don't even do that. Right?
Yeah, but I could understand that.
But I have an answer.
Understand that. I don't understand.
I can understand it. Yeah, I don't
understand people defacing random tombstones or knocking them down in a cemetery. I just don't get it. Where you're looking for your name in the paper? Well, guess what? They're not going to put it in the paper because they know that you'll get a jolly out of having it in the paper.
Well, Mike's saying he gets people stealing flowers from mother-in-law's cemetery. Stealing flowers has unfortunately been going on for years in cemeteries. It's like people go there, they'll steal your flowers to put it on their relative's grave. You're better off if you're going there and you've not got flowers. Just go there, right? Do whatever.
I think you should set a big trap around a tombstone and grow marijuana plants beside the stone, and then you'll attract people to it, and then you could trap them.
I got the answer, by the way, to defacing tombstones. Right, you catch the person, he goes to prison for life.
I think probably just hanging him off out off of a tree in the cemetery would be example to the others.
Yeah, yeah.
Put his head on a pike like they did in
Thank you
Tudor
thank you for your contribution, Mr. Lynch. All right.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's this trend, and it's because people are bored. They don't know what to do. They have the inability to accomplish anything except it's like somebody when they knock over a snowman. Somebody takes hours to make a nice snowman.
Yeah.
It takes you a few 1 minute to knock it down. Big joy. So somebody's taking a long time to create something, and you can knock it down in a few seconds. Oh boy. Yeah. So someone took time and effort to do something, and you're jealous, so you knock it over, because you haven't got what it takes to do the same thing. So it's just, it's people who have no ability to do anything else but to destroy.
Yeah. Okay. So the other thing, just to wrap this up, is Willoughby Historical Museum is officially set to close. The council voted in favour of shutting it down this week. There's been low visitor turnout, and the high operating costs keep going up. They are looking at relocating the historical artifacts and exhibits to other venues to ensure the legacy of Willoughby and Chippewa isn't lost. And that's a constant problem about what to do about those low attendances in village museums. Because I must admit, I've probably driven past Willoughby Museum dozens of times and never gone in.
I think I was in there once, a very long time ago. But the problem is that they're costly. But here's the rub: they have something like 10,000 artifacts.
Yeah.
In and around Willoughby's museum, and a lot of them are really small. So what's going to have to happen now? Willoughby Museum costs like $20-something thousand a year to keep going. They have to have a couple of staff. They don't have a whole lot of visitors in it. But in order to take the artifacts out of there and reclassify them, that's going to cost $310,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're going to have to assess the artifacts. Yeah, they're going to have to get rid of some because they're not going to have room for them. So they're going to have to assess which ones are valuable, which ones aren't.
Yeah,
I would hope that anything they thought that was not particularly valuable, they might be able to sell them to collectors or something. Yeah, because they would have like hundreds of musket balls. They would have like hundreds of musket balls and things like that you could probably sell.
Okay, but so you've just done 20,000 a year for the cost of the museum, and it's going to cost 300,000 to move it. You just justify keeping it.
Well, yeah, but they're looking long term here. They're trying to bring their museums all under one roof, and this one seems not to get a whole lot of interest. We find the same thing with the Military Museum on Victoria Avenue. They are threatening to close that as well. I don't know what they're going to do with the property.
But you see, here's the thing. There's been a lot of talk about what is called museum tourism, right? Historical tourism. So you promote the historical tourism in order to bring people to museums. And as Mike says, there's no respect for our history or ideas about how to preserve it. Laurie pointed out the numbers, and everybody still voted for removal. Yeah, see, 20 grand a year, 300,000 divided by 20 grand is a lot of years you could keep that museum.
Yeah, you could keep it going for a very long time, and what you said is true. And of course, we have the mighty river, we have the extraordinary cataract of Niagara Falls that that is the highlight of our tourism. But 60% of the War of 1812 happened along this river.
Yeah.
And there's been battle sites also. Prior to that, the indigenous peoples of the area have had a long history here. There was the Beaver Wars. There was other things like that are less less focused upon. I mean, there was a huge cataclysm of the indigenous people warring one another and displacing one another back and forth from about 1650 on, and we find that it is very limited. If you get a real history buff like me, somebody that really likes that stuff, like when I went to Siem Reap, where did I go, man? I took 5 days. I had this little tuk-tuk driver would come and pick me up every day at 9 o'clock, and I would go to one temple after another all over the place, and old Hindu religious sites that predated the Buddhism, and I was just fascinated, and I bought a book and I read all about them, and so that's me, so I spent 5 days checking out the historical areas of Siem Reap over and above Angkor Wat, which is the most famous, but only one of a couple of hundred there.
Yeah. And you probably only visited 10% of all that was available.
Oh yeah, the major ones, and I was fascinated, like this whole Khmer civilization that was there for 1,000 or more years before it just kind of collapsed into the jungle. It was amazing to me, and if I was a visitor to come to Niagara, of course I would check out the geology of the falls and the gorge and all that other stuff. But I would be going around from museum to museum or tours, historical tours, telling me about what happened. We don't see that here.
Yeah, and there's definitely a place for museum tourism, and that would be, of course, a reason to keep Willoughby open.
Yeah, so I don't know what will become of the Willoughby Museum. I don't know. It belongs to the Niagara Parks Commission, though.
Yeah.
So I don't see any dynamite coming anytime soon. But if any cemetery type vandals break into it one night, it's going to go up on the flames. So it's going to be a vulnerable building.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So moving on to something not local, but possibly impacting people there. Jamaica's, Maroons.
Maroons, yeah.
These are people who were never slaves, but they took a chunk of Jamaica back when there was a lot of enslavement going on.
Yeah, this is a very interesting thing. I don't know if anybody knows about the Maroon culture. I've known about it because I'm the type of nerdy guy that looks into stuff like that. But the Maroon culture of Jamaica is very unique. What had happened was a slave ship crashed sort of crashed into the shore many years ago. I think it was a Spanish slave ship in the 1600s. It might have been the 1500s, but 1600s, and the slaves escaped in Jamaica, and they ran up into the hills. Thereafter, other enslaved. These weren't enslaved because once they got up into the hills, they were free.
Yeah.
But
they would have been
the enslaved Africans that were in Jamaica once in a while would escape and go up into them among the Maroons. Now the Maroons have a unique culture. They kept their freedom and they have a unique culture and all that. And so this is just an article about them, that they had survived as free people in the highlands of Jamaica and were never subdued. As a matter of fact, the British had to make a peace treaty with them in the 1730s. So that they could live side by side. The Brits couldn't couldn't go and capture them and make them slaves. So what they did was they made a peace treaty with them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
I think it's okay. Go ahead.
Before getting on those slave ships, they would have been slaves in Africa, wouldn't they?
There's all kinds of slaves in Africa, but these were ones that were captured probably in war or and put it on slave ships. So one particular ship crashed, ran aground, and the slaves got off of it and hightailed it into the highlands.
Yeah.
So at that point, they were no longer slaves; they were free.
Yeah.
Now they were able to keep themselves going there, and from time to time, from the sugar plantations and other things in other parts of Jamaica, individual slaves would escape and move up and hang out with the Maroons.
Yeah.
But the Maroons kept lots of their language and music and other cultural events or cultural ideas unique. And of course, now being separated from Africa and being added to with a mix of different Africans, they became a very unique culture there. They have unique music. If you ever hear their music, it's very interesting music. They have I don't know, their own sort of religious practices and everything. It still exists up there in Jamaica. So the whole article is about that. Now, they highlight on a particular woman who is a spiritual advisor or a spiritual chiefess, I guess you'd call it. I don't know. I'm trying to bring up the article now. But I thought it was very interesting. Anybody interested?
Her name is Gloria Sims, and she's affectionately called Mama G, who warmly greets her neighbours as she walks towards the island hall.
Yeah. So
village hall.
People escaped enslavement and created their own free communities in the remote hilly parts of the island. Yeah. At one time, the Brits had to dump 10,000 troops there just to keep them off the plantations and stuff. That was a huge expense for the Brits in those days. And having had to sign a peace treaty with them back in 1730, that gives you an idea how very effective they were. So they have their own plantations. I'm trying to get to the point where I think she's got it wrong, actually. So there are similar communities that have survived in Suriname, Brazil, and Colombia, where escaped slaves went. They're similar, but the one in Jamaica is completely unique. And Mama G describes Jamaica, 1838 Proclamation of Abolition. We'll get past there. It says, when Europeans first came to Africa, they saw us in all our glory. We walked in gold. Our crowns were created from the raw materials we had. So they took many examples from us and built their kingdoms and destroyed ours. That's not exactly true. Almost all of slavery happened with the African kingdoms intact. The Europeans could not go into Africa without getting major diseases. So aside from the Portuguese and a little bit of the Dutch, they did not encroach upon the kingdoms of Africa. It was the Africans that sold them the slaves. Europeans, she adds, weren't just looking for free labor. They were intent on taking over. We were identified as ugly backwards because of our physical features, such as dark skin, big nose, thick, broad lips. They wanted to humiliate us, chosen people, to bring us down, and because of jealousy, envy, and greed. That's overstated, basically. Yeah, they slave owners did develop this narrative to justify their use of slavery, but
and especially when that was especially true when slavery became less popular, which
that was their counter argument to the abolitionists.
Yeah, and so abolition certainly had a lot of growth in the 1600s and the 1700s, before that Universal Declaration in 1832, wasn't it?
Well, she claims 1838, but the Emancipation Day was actually 1834, but it may have been delayed in Jamaica till 1838.
That's possible. Well, yeah.
So they talk about reparations for slavery and all that. If you really want reparations for slavery, you're going to have to go to Africa, because they're the ones that captured the slaves and sold them. They had no compunction, and they would use in the Muslim slave trade was particularly egregious, and it happened right to 1880. But I could see everything she says is very. I can see why she holds these kind of narratives. It takes a long time to bring it down to what really happened and everyone's point of view.
Yeah.
Now,
Dave.
Yeah.
You got an invite.
To where?
To lunch by Gary.
Oh, okay. What time? Okay. What about 1 o'clock again, Gary?
He doesn't say time, but yeah. Figure it out after the show.
Okay. Yeah. We'll do that, Gary. If it's raining, we'll sit outside anyway.
Trust you.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Yeah, so that sounds good, Gary. I gotta see you before you head east.
Head east? Where's he going?
Gary's heading down east.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, okay. All right. Anything else about the Maroons?
I don't know. I just brought it up because so many people don't even know about them, and they've been around for several hundred years, and they are escaped slaves basically, and they had their own particular communities and own culture and everything, and were able to resist the mighty British Empire, and to the point where the Brits had to actually make peace treaties with them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very interesting.
It's a good thing to have been in a position to be able to negotiate a peace treaty as a group like that.
Yeah, we're at 8:01, and I got to bring up Gaza again right now. The Israelis have put in a lot of troops and are attacking Gaza City and decimating it. Of course, they've already decimated it. They're re-decimating it. They're taking large bits of rubble and turning them into small bits of rubble, as far as I could see. They haven't been able to unseat Hamas in there. That is what their opinions is. Sounds good, Mr. Trump. I'll wear that shirt you love. And any case, the whole idea is now they're going to stop. They're going to, they were hard enough getting food supplies in there in the beginning, and they were dribbling in, and now they say, well, we're going to have to cut them off again because now it's a war zone.
Yeah.
So the implication is
I saw that article. I saw that article. We'll clearly get an update as over the weekend. All right.
Yeah.
And
so remember, Gaza, it's a genocide. The UN workers actually have written a letter demanding that the UN call it a genocide, call it what it is. They've been reluctant to do that. But the actual people who are working there that have to face the data every day of what's coming out of Gaza are horrified and are now demanding that it is officially called a genocide. Anyway.
And to let everybody know, there will be no show Thursday or Friday next week. I'm out of town.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. Rest your ears, everyone, on Thursday and Friday. But after that, we'll be back.
All right. So thanks, everybody, and have a great weekend. And we'll be back Tuesday, remember. So it'll be Tuesday next week, Wednesday only next week. Okay? All right.
Okay. We got a lot of blab to fit into 2 days.
Yeah.
Anyway, without further ado, I bid you to have a great weekend, everyone.
Yep. Bye.